Comics Are Dope is still brought to you by the greatest shop in the land, Fight or Flight Comics, inside Triangle Town Center Mall in Raleigh, North Carolina. And all July long, they've got dollar comics all over the place. You can fill a short box for $100. So don't say I never gave you anything. I gave you great deals. Walk inside Triangle Town Center Mall, go through the food court, make a left, past Hollister, and there you will be in Fight or Flight Comics. Tell them BJ Kicks sent you to get some special treatment. And now, let's start the show. Hey, so it's not often you get to just interview one of your favorite writers just kind of on a whim, out of the blue, but that's exactly how this opportunity came about. So today, you're listening to my conversation with Chip Zdarsky, who is the writer of the newest Captain America series, formerly the writer on Batman, Howard the Duck, Marvel 2-in-1, all sorts of stuff. He's here, of course, to promote his newsletter, physical newsletter. It's called Zdarsky Comic News, and you can get it at your local comic shop right now. For whatever reason, I decided to just jump right into the conversation instead of recording an intro. So now that the intro's done, let's listen to that conversation. And so, of course, I guess I should start by just saying welcome to the podcast, Mr. Chip Zdarsky. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing well. I'm doing
Nice.
well. It's been, the kids are in bed, allegedly. Might have a 4-month-old that's still screaming somewhere, but not my problem right now.
I like it because you've got that after hours kids are in bed voice vibe right now.
That is
Like late
the
night radio DJ. I like it.
that's the I have no more energy
Yeah.
after taking care of kids all day voice.
Whereas I've got the vibe of I came straight from the beach.
That is great. That is
Yeah.
so. Um, we're here. We can talk about a whole lot of things. People
Yeah.
know you from Daredevil, Batman, Howard the Duck, Fantastic Four, or Marvel 2-in-1,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
sorts of things. But we're here to talk about Zdarsky Comic News, one of your sort of most recent exploits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's funny is I have been asking my local shop for ZCN for about a year now.
Yeah.
Since the first one came out and it was like you can only get it at a comic shop. I was like, all right, let's go in Comic Hub and order this thing. And my first issue is right here.
Oh, hot damn, finally.
This is issue 12. You know what happened?
Wow.
So I go to the shop last week and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, somebody ordered this, but it came in a pack of 25s. We figured it was something you would like, so we gave it to you. I was like, what?
That's
So I guess
amazing.
somebody with more cachet had to order it first.
Yeah, I clearly need to get the word out better to retailers.
Well, so I wanted to talk about it because
Mhm.
I've heard you talk about this other places, and it's almost like, kind of saving comic book discourse by looking back, right? The kind of future of it, and
Yeah.
by looking back to like print magazines. And
Mhm.
I'm curious as to where the idea spawned from.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, first of all, I should ask, is swearing allowed on this?
Sure.
The internet's fucking horrible.
There's a pull quote.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started from that. Like, I quit social media a couple years ago, um, for a variety of reasons we can get into or not get into. But like, ultimately, I just found it to be kind of a destructive force and almost like an anti-marketing tool at some point. Um, and once I left, I just felt bad for the people who are still on it. So, but like, how do you get the word out? That's the big question, right? Like, I like doing podcasts like this, but like I was kind of known for, all the jokes and foibles and stuff that I would post on Twitter and Instagram, and I have my Substack, which is good, but how do you get new readers? How do you get new people to your project? So it was tricky, and I just started thinking one day, I'm like, well, how did I find out about comics before the internet? Like I'm an old man, 49, pushing 50. And so, when I thought back to my childhood, it was magazines and newspapers and all these kind of publications about comics that would be in comic shops. Some were cheap, some were free. Um, but I just devoured them. I loved it. Like getting any kind of insight into the world of comics and the industry or potential projects coming up. Like there was Marvel Age, that was my big one. Wizard Magazine later on, Comics Journal, Amazing Heroes, Comic Buyer's Guide. Like there's so many, and I just love them because they're also because they were physical. They were kind of part of the collection, which
Yeah.
was nice. Like I kept them all. Like it's not like a newspaper you read and you put in the recycling. Like you hold on to these things. So that was the other part of it I really liked. The fact that the internet feels very fleeting. It's forever, but it's also fleeting. Um, but when somebody has a physical copy of something, even if it's free, and they find it entertaining, they hold on to it. And there's something about that too. I like the fact that people collect Zdarsky Comic News. So I had this idea that maybe I should do something physical and put it in shops. And so I basically just did the first one as kind of a gag where it was just 4 pages. And I kind of did the Beyonce drop of it where I didn't tell anyone. I just kind of dealt with Diamond and said, "Hey, I'm going to print 50,000 copies of this. Can you distribute them to the shops? That makes sense." And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely." So it just kind of arrived one day, and the shops didn't know what the fuck to make of it. It's like, oh, why do we have these things? Some of them got it right away. Some of them, needed some massaging. Um, but yeah, so that first one came out, and people liked it, and it was a fun gag, and it helped promote my work. And like I said, it was 4 pages, it was all about me, Starsky Comic News. But then I was like, well, do I do a second one? And so once I realized I wanted to do more of them, because my background's newspapers, I love making these kind of things. It just kind of took off from there, and I started to talk to friends and interview creators and do these graphics, and yeah, it's kind of hit the point now where it's like it's barely about me. Like,
Right.
I might be the model on the cover of the manga issue, but like the books we talk about are everyone else's books. Um, and yeah, it just kept growing. It grew to the point where um, I needed help, like because I started to get ads for it, which helped pay for the costs. But I was really bad at the follow-up on that. Like I couldn't hunt down publishers for ads for the next issue or for them to get their files in on time or their contract. So I teamed up with Adam Freeman, who you might know. Um, uh, he's kind of been in and around comics in a variety of roles, but because he knows so many people and he's got a good business mindset, he's kind of the business guy for it. So he handles all the distribution and printing and ad stuff while I just kind of work on the creative. So yeah, it just kind of it just spiraled out of control. But it started from that that love of those old publications and the desire to do something that was going to be in front of the actual readers who buy comics, which is in comic shops, which I think is really important because a lot of times that online crowd doesn't translate into comic sales. It translates into reading comics online for free, maybe, or complaining about comics as they read snippets of them on Twitter. But you really want to, as a creator, to get those dedicated readers, the ones that go into the shops.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of background about me. I've been doing this about 5 years
Okay.
in November. And part of the reason I started this was I got into comics in 2019. Um,
Yeah, okay.
you can blame House of X and Powers of 10.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you know, my daughter wanting to go to a free comic book day event as like, my sort of origin story. But
were you reading comics all as a kid? Or did you fall out of it and come back?
I had some comics as a kid. So I live in
Yeah,
North Carolina and I'm sure there were comic shops. I know there were comic shops that
yeah.
existed when I was a kid, but nowhere
Hmm.
near me. So I
Yeah.
only experienced comics when I would go to New York to visit my grandmother. And so
Okay.
I just kind of thought that was like a New York thing and never really thought much of it. So I had like a few like whatever the late 90s, early 2000s stuff that was out. One of my uncle's friends would kind of just bring it in grocery bags and we just kind of
Yeah.
fight over the covers or whatever, but not a whole lot of exposure to comics as a
Yeah.
kid. But I knew about comics or superheroes through animation. And so when I got into it a few years back, that's kind of what I gravitated toward. Whatever had a cartoon that I liked when I was a kid, I was just picking those up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but with House of X, it's like Hickman, like big brain stuff. And so it's
Hmm.
fun, it's action packed, but I'm going online trying to figure out, like, wait, is there something about this that I don't know that I should know? And so
Yeah.
as I'm looking up these comic breakdowns, I'm stumbling upon all these different channels. And, it'd be like, yeah, this issue was great. Why are there so many black people in it? And I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Like, and so it
Oh
was just
God,
like
yeah.
this weird sea of negativity. And so
Yeah.
when I started the channel, it was just like, all right, well, I'll just talk about stuff that I like. And if I don't like it, cool.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing I appreciate about ZCN, right, or just having a printed medium, right, is really just there's a level of curation that's just built into it.
Yeah.
There's like this idea of, okay, well, what's worth committing to the page? Because I feel like online, it is kind of like a free for all. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a beauty to there being no barrier to entry online, but there's also a problem with that because people just spout any nonsense that comes into their head,
yeah,
which you experienced. And yeah, to actually have to sit and think about it and lay it out and have an editor look at it and send it to the printer and they look at it. Like there's enough steps there that yeah, the curation is pretty key, I think, with the printed stuff.
for sure. And
Yeah.
so one question I had, right, like you're known online just for being yourself, right? You've got you mentioned it, right? Just having, sort of the humorous personality,
Yeah, yeah,
and bringing a lot of that online. And you did quit socials, and so now it's like we kind of have to join the chip ecosystem
yeah,
somehow. And
yeah,
then, now here we are. But I guess my curiosity is just for because like when you read, well, the one issue of ZCN that I that I have,
yeah,
it very much feels like, reading your Substack or
yeah,
seeing your interviews or anything else, right? It's definitely your voice. And there's a lot of humor there. I guess, smarter people would call it satire. But I guess my question really is like, okay, what is the power of satire? And why is it that you use it? And are you, is there like a fear of like a danger of satire of like being misunderstood or misquoted somehow?
Oh, I mean, you can't stop that. Like, even just my Substack, I'll see people online taking snippets, be like, "What? Why does he hate Captain America?" I'm like, "What? No, like, you're clearly not reading the way I intended." Um, yeah, not everyone's going to get it, and so you can't be too scared of that. Weirdly, my favorite kind of jokes are the ones that just like my friends get, or like smart people in my life get, and no one else gets. I'm just like, I love it when people misunderstand me. Um, yeah, I mean, my thing has always been, and this goes back to my days when I worked at the newspaper and I would do kind of weird stunts and stories. Is that for the most part, I'm the butt of the joke, even if I'm doing kind of satire on what's happening around me. I'm not the cool guy at the top of the hill, kind of looking down and pointing and laughing at people. Like I'm the loser that's kind of in the thick of it as I'm making fun of things. Um, And yeah, being in the industry, like that, the one problem with ZCN is that I can't really go after people too hard.
Mhm.
Like I can poke fun at Marvel and DC, but at the end of the day, they are, paying me to write these characters. So I weirdly I find it hard, especially when I'm coming up with like the cover lines for an issue, when I have all these kind of really biting jokes about companies or creators. I'm just like, oh, I can't. Like I gotta rein it in a little bit. Like I'm
Mhm.
at the point in my career where I'm not just like this outsider looking in. I'm like I'm in it, so I've got to be a little careful. So the humor is a weird balance in something like this because you want to have fun, you want it to be funny, um, you don't want to piss off your friends or your employers. So it's a fine line to walk sometimes.
For sure. Now the decision was made very early on that you wanted ZCN to only be available in comic shops.
Mhm.
Why was that, and how's that been going in the wake of all this drama with distributors?
I mean, there are some people that can't get the physical copy, and I feel bad for them. Um, like in Canada, it's tricky right now. I'm trying to get it in with a distributor in Canada, and they ain't returning my calls just yet. Um, yeah, I feel bad because like you want everyone to be able to access something, but also sometimes not everyone can access a thing, and that's not the worst thing in the world. I do make it available digitally for the paid subscribers on my Substack. So if you really want it, you can find a way. And I'm sure there's somebody scanning it and posting it. But but I really wanted it to be physical and I wanted it to feel special, not just like a byproduct of something online or that the online's a byproduct of the physical. I wanted people to go into shops. Like part of the reason for this existing is to get people into shops. And I've heard from people, especially after the first couple issues, where people were driving from town to town trying to find it. Uh, and there's something about that hunt that I really like, where in a world where you instantaneously get whatever you want, there's a thing out there, this dumb little fun thing that you actually maybe have to go out of your way to get. And so I know for a fact, like people were going into comic shops for the first time in a while or first time ever to get this, which is a potential customer for the comic shop. Like I think that's ultimately my goal is to kind of get people to buy from comic shops. When I started this, my goal was to have it so everything that was kind of talked about in the issue was on FOC, which is final order cutoff. So if you saw something in it, you could tell the retailer, and they had enough time to put the order in for you.
Right.
I couldn't quite keep that up because of the amount of time between print and FOC information.
Yeah.
It was too long. So now I just make sure that it's like it's coming out that month. Because I really want people to like look at the issue and be like, "Oh, I like this. I can ask for it right now." Which yeah, it's about the comic shops and getting people in there.
Yeah. I love that there is here in issue 12, there's this hot comic section here at the back.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
showing it to you as if you've never seen it, but
No, no.
for the audience.
Yeah.
But it's you and Steve from Third Eye Comics,
Mhm.
and you've got a sort of top five list of,
Yeah.
books that are out or some, well, all of yours are out in the
I'm
trades.
just
It's
yeah, no,
amazing.
I'm just doing mine in chronological order every issue. Well, I mean, so that's an interesting section because, historically up until now, it's just been me on the book.
Mm,
I'll interview people, but that's it. But I remember talking to Steve, who's like the guy who owns Third Eye, uh, and a chain of comic shops, and he's like so excited about comics. Like he's unbelievably excited about comics. And he was saying to me, he's like, "Yeah, you're kind of missing an audience here, which is the speculator crowd." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're not really my crowd. Like I don't pursue them." He's like, "I know, but like, um, those people also like comics that are cool. Like it's a crowd that's like they might be speculating for money's sake or for collecting, but also they want to know what's hot and what's cool,
right.
just to get into it." So I gave him that space. I'm just like, "You tell me your top five like every month, and I'll print it." Um, but to make it still in line with what we're trying to do at ZCN, I made sure to have my top five list as well, which was ludicrous and stupid, or else it's too earnest, and I can't have that in my publication.
Right. Right. But no, I like this. First of all, are you doing all this design work yourself?
Yeah, all of it, everything.
That is a lot of design work.
It's a lot. I'm fast, I will say that, because my career before comics was newspapers, and I was a infographic designer and a designer, illustrator, writer. I kind of did a bunch of everything over almost 12, 13 years working for newspapers on and off. And newspapers are a daily grind. Like, you get the assignment at 2 in the afternoon. They send the first edition at 6. Like you gotta put something on the page or a page is blank. Um, and that really helped with this. And also, I love doing it and I miss doing it. So getting to kind of take those skills and put them into ZCN, the skills as they were, has been awesome. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a skill. I I'm a self-taught graphic designer. I don't
Okay.
even know that I would call myself a graphic designer. Like now that I know many graphic designers that actually work. For me, it was I put myself through college paying or making club flyers. Like that's how I would
Okay.
get my spending cash.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like to make a club flyer doesn't really take a lot of skill. You learn a few different Photoshop effects, and then there you go, kind of rinse and
Well, you
repeat.
still got to know like typography, like it's design.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Or I thought it was until it was time for me to go in InDesign and lay out an ebook once. And I
Mm,
was like, oh, this is a different beast. It's a horse of a
yeah.
different color.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. I mean, not to get too in the weeds on the technical side of it, but like The program I'm most proficient in is Adobe Illustrator. So I design almost every page in Illustrator, and then I throw them into InDesign to package it. I know a lot of people think I should just probably do it in InDesign. I'm like, I probably should, but like old horse, new tricks. Like I can't I can't quite get my head around all the tools that InDesign has.
Yeah, they're insane. But each page in this book has like different layouts. I love the this sort of guide to manga symbols,
Yeah, yeah.
which is helpful for me as
Yeah.
one who is not has not read a manga, right?
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
and I don't know, for me, something about the grayscale is difficult on the eyes, and so it's like
Mm,
I just haven't jumped in.
yeah.
But now I think I'm gonna check out Dinosaur Sanctuary. I think that'll be my first.
Oh, nice. Depth's pick. Very good. Yeah, I want to check it out too. I haven't read that one. Yeah, I mean manga, I only got into it over the pandemic because as you probably gleaned from the that issue of ZCN, I do a podcast with friends called Manga Splaining, where they explain manga to me
Mm,
as a North American creator who wasn't really into it growing up. I really had very little knowledge of manga, and we've done over 100 episodes. I've read hundreds of volumes of manga, and I'm like, even still, it feels like I'm scratching the surface. But there's a lot to offer there. Obviously, it's popular for a reason, so I definitely recommend getting into it.
I do like that there's manga about so many different subjects.
Yes. Yes, yes, that's a huge draw for me. Even as a creator, it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that like, I said this before in other podcasts, but the North American comics market, uh, you know, kind of specifically Image, like where creators go when they're not doing Marvel DC stuff. It's so much of like this meets that. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's cowboys, but it's vampires. Oh, it's sci-fi, but they're zombies. Like, it's just genre mashing, really. Like, most creators just kind of, and I'm guilty of it too. I did a superhero vampire book. Like, most creators just kind of smash these kind of ideas together in these weird elevator pitches. Whereas in Japanese comics, like, you can have a book about rice.
Yeah,
Like just about rice. You can have books about radio DJs or ping pong or businessmen. Like there really seems to be a wider variety of subject matter that on the surface feels maybe banal, but um, but they're amazing stories.
yeah,
And then on the opposite end, they also have the weirdest stuff you can imagine. That usually it does exactly what it says on the tin, where like the title of a book will be like I'm a I'm a 30-year-old virgin wizard who can stop time and I'm in love with my best friend. Like that's the title of the manga. Like you
yeah.
know,
I was
it's
watching
wild.
Omar was doing this collected edition roundup, and there was one. It was called like "I Got Revenge on My Boyfriend by Having a MILF Date with His Mom."
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, "What?
Like you know exactly what you're getting.
That is insane that there's a market for that." But I
I
guess
love it. But that's the thing. And then when you start to read, you're like, oh, I get it. Like it's just classic tension. Will they, won't they?
mm,
It's just wrapped up in a strange package.
yeah, for sure. And so in ZCN, right? Like there, like I said, we've talked a little bit about like the gags and the humor, and that's kind of just your personality on display. But like you said, there's also, all these points where you're interviewing other creators.
Hmm.
Um, how is it like being in conversation with other creators? Are you afraid that like, I don't know, you'll talk to somebody and steal an idea or something? Like, how do you approach these conversations?
Well, I mean, only if I ask them for their ideas. Um, no, it's good. I think they appreciate it as well because we're kind of speaking the same language a little bit. Like maybe
Mhm.
I'm asking them questions that aren't normally asked, because I'm thinking about their process, and their writing or their drawing. Um, yeah, yeah, no, it's 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 fun to kind of interview people in your field. Um, maybe it ends up like my big thing is to make sure it's not so inside baseball that the person reading isn't going to get it.
Mhm.
Because like when I worked at the newspaper, you would interview people who did a thing that you don't do, and your whole thing is you need to learn about what they do so you can tell the reader what they do. But when you actually do the thing that you're interviewing the person about, you can get a little granular. I don't think I've had that problem. Um, but yeah, no, it's fun, and also it's just nice knowing that I'm able to help them promote whatever they're doing, which is great. And I think it's nice for them too because it's just like a break from their standard kind of interview questions, which is what's coming up in Hawkman, like what's next? Like so many interviews are just about plot.
Yeah.
Like tell me what's happening, tell me what's going to happen. Like, well, no, I don't want to spoil it for you. And like that's not an interesting question. Like the more interesting question is like, what's the story you're trying to tell here underneath that plot? So yeah, I don't get in too in depth, obviously, just because of space limitations and
Mhm.
the kind of the style of the magazine, but it is fun. Yeah, I like doing it.
Yeah. I know Variety does actors on actors. And I think
Hmm.
it's fun, like as an observer, to hear people talk craft, right? Because as an
Yeah,
interviewer, I either
100%.
have to be like an expert on you to make a conversation interesting. Like, oh yeah, on this panel you did this. What were you trying to say? Right? I'd be James Lipton, or I've got to just act super dumb. Like, so you read a comic once. What was that
Yeah,
like?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
So it's cool to see people who don't have to have such fluff conversations, just get straight to it. And it's interesting
Yeah.
for me. But
Well, good, good.
so with interviewing other pros, you somehow found time to interview yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, at
How
some
was
point
it
I
asking yourself
realized,
the
well,
tough
yeah,
question?
at some point I realized, oh yeah, it's called Zdarsky Comic News. I should probably do something about me at some point.
Oh, that's great. That is
It's
great. So,
well, it's pretty funny because like it started off like again like as me promoting myself, and then weirdly because there's a weird kind of crossover where like I'd quit Batman, but I was really far ahead on scripts. So that was still coming out, but then I was just starting to do stuff at Marvel that wasn't going to be out for a while. So there's like a weird period of not having anything to promote
mm,
because I was too busy working on the future stuff. And so ZCN all of a sudden, I think there was a couple issues where I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to promote in this. Like all I'm doing is talking about other people's stuff. So thank God Captain America came along so I could actually interview myself about it.
right. Um, and I love your conversation with you about
Mm,
Captain America.
thank you.
Um, it did not occur to me until you pointed it out that you are a Canadian writing Captain America.
Yeah, yeah, the first.
The first, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like there's only been two other non-American writers, and they only wrote for a few issues. Like Dave Gibbons wrote a few issues, and I think it was
Mm,
James Robinson wrote a couple. Like 99% of Captain America's been written by Americans, probably for good reason.
guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So when editorial calls you up and it's like, hey, would you want to write Captain America, right? Like, what's the question you have to ask yourself to be able to give an answer?
I mean, the first one is, do I have time? Because they offered it to me a few years ago, and I did not have the time because Batman was like kind of a full-time job, and it was one of my dream jobs, Captain America. And I told Marvel that years ago. So they offered it to me thinking I would just say yes. And I'm like, well, actually, like I wouldn't be able to give it my all because of my workload right now. So I said no. But it did kind of get me to start thinking about it. So when they asked me this most recent time, I actually started to have ideas before that point, which is rare for me. Um, but the question is always the same thing when somebody offers me a job, um, is do I have a story for it? And so I never say yes, even if it's a dream gig. When they offered me Batman, I didn't say yes. When they offered me Daredevil, I didn't say yes. I said, let me go think about it.
Mhm.
And then I disappear for a week or two, in which I reread some of the classic stories, things that I loved, things I didn't know. And then I just start to think, like, do I have a story to tell? And there have been cases where I haven't. Like I've been offered books that, were kind of dream gigs, and then I just didn't have the idea that was worthy of it, and I would say no. Um, so yeah, I mean, Captain America, I definitely had something in mind, and um, my saying yes came pretty quickly.
So for Captain America, right? And I guess
Mhm.
not to say that like you can't have an opinion on Captain America as a Canadian, but I'm curious as to like what the draw is.
I mean, I grew up reading it. That's the thing. Like being Canadian, we're just inundated with American culture. So there was a part of me growing up that just felt American, I suppose. Because I watched the same stuff, I listened to the same stuff that Americans did. Like, I mean, grew up outside of Toronto, like we're just across the border. We're getting all the same signals of TV stations.
So you're saying it's like the
Um,
51st state?
yeah, it's exactly what I'm saying. No, but like I mean, it felt like, brothers and sisters or whatever, like,
Mhm.
different but the same. And I love Captain America. Like there was something about a character that like embodied the American dream, and that also struggled with what does it mean to be Captain America and
Mhm.
an American. Because I was reading it mostly during the Mark Grunwald years, where he stopped being Captain America, and John Walker became Captain America. It was a whole different thing. Um, I love that. I love that constant questioning about what it means to be American, and especially Captain America. uh, and then the dual time periods of World War II and modern day, like
Mhm.
kind of reconciling those two periods of Steve Rogers' life. So I love the character, and as kind of a like, non-American, I think my way in was a lot of the previous Captain America writers, for good reason, told stories about like Captain America in America dealing with what America does and is and says and the twisted version of the American dream. And so for me, it felt like, well, what does the rest of the world see America as?
Mhm.
And how does America interact with the world? And what is Captain America's role in that? So that's kind of where I've been leaning with the stories. Less about kind of internal America, more about the kind of external America. Which, prompted me to go down a hole of kind of nonfiction reading about kind of American wars and American territories, and especially post World War II America, how their military might is kind of spread all over the world. So yeah, it's been interesting. I've learned a lot doing the project, and I hope it shows on the page.
So when I found out you were writing Captain America, I was excited. First of
Well,
all,
good, good.
you
Yeah,
know,
me too.
so, just to be completely honest, I had never really been a big Captain America fan. Um, you know, generally speaking, right? Like we don't, well, my family, like people I know, like we're not like super patriotic, right? Like
Yeah,
4th of July is coming up. I'm never going to Old Navy on the 4th of July sale, right?
yeah, of course.
And so like you see this guy draped in the American flag, and it's just like, okay, whatever he's about.
Yeah, it's
Um,
corny as hell.
very much so.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and so my exposure to Captain America, of course, was just the MCU,
Hmm.
and still kind of corny, but he's on a team and he's leading it, so it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, but the first time I read Captain America was in your Avengers Twilight,
Oh, okay, cool.
and I really enjoyed like Old Man Cap,
Yeah,
right? Like it's kind of, I guess there's always going to be a Dark Knight Returns comparison whenever there's an old man superhero.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
But I love that he's been inactive for a little while. Like he's, disillusioned with, the state of affairs, and, he's kind of getting dragged back in. Like, no, this is not what I fought for. Like I gotta like get this back to
yeah.
to where it's supposed to be. Um, and I guess technically it's Elseworlds or whatever Marvel calls their
Hmm.
Elseworlds. But
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like there's gotta be, you know, seeing like, a sort of potential future for Cap. You get to the meat of, right, what drives this character,
Yeah.
what's his motivation and stuff. So knowing that from Twilight is like, okay, I'm excited to see now a younger version of this character.
Hmm.
What would you say are maybe some differences between Steve Rogers 616 versus Twilight?
Yeah, I mean, it's always about, the older you get, there's a growing cynicism for sure. World War II, um, there's no question about what to do,
Mm,
right? Like, it's us versus Hitler and the Nazis. Like, you sign up, you do the right thing. Uh, Modern world is a bit more, gray, not as black and white, it sometimes feels. Um, um, so that affects Steve Rogers, and in terms of his kind of questioning about his place in the world and America's place in the world. Because, America maybe hasn't, comported itself uh, to the ideals that Steve Rogers wants it to be. Whereas there's less question about that during World War II. Obviously, America still did some heinous shit, but ultimately, it was about stopping evil, the rise of Nazis and Hitler's expansion across Europe. Um, so yeah, so it's that growing kind of cynicism and questioning, and then by the time you reach kind of old man Cap, like he's done questioning, like he's just tired.
Mm.
So it's about reverting him back to the modern version where yeah, things are screwed up and things aren't necessarily black and white, but like you have to dig down deep and ask yourself what's right and what's wrong and where you're going to stand on a thing. So it's fun kind of writing essentially three different versions of the character
Mm.
uh, that way. Yeah. Yeah, he's not. I love him as a character because he's not cool and he's quite sad. Like he's a tragic figure,
Mm.
a man who kind of has lost everything and is draped in a flag for a country that maybe doesn't live up to what he wants it to. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of tragedy there.
For sure. Um, so I don't want to spoil issue one, but what I will say for the readers, it's been about a week since issue one came out as you're hearing this. So, Captain America number one, it feels very much like a Captain America number one. We're kind of, in a way, getting a retelling of the origin. We're spending some time with Cap just after he's come out of the ice, as he's kind of getting reacclimated into the world. Why bring us back to that time period?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few reasons. One, talking about the idea of, the theme of the run being about America and its impact on the world. Harder to do when you jump right into modern day Cap
Mm.
because he's already used to it. So I wanted to see that through kind of fresh eyes. And really, a lot of it was I had in mind pretty early on that we don't see enough of Cap versus Doom.
Mm.
And I was intrigued with the idea of him coming out of the ice and discovering there is another madman in Europe with too much power who keeps walking out of his borders and causing trouble.
Mm.
Um, that was interesting to me because people often overlook the fact that like when Cap woke up from the ice, like a day had passed in his
Mm.
mind. Like he went to sleep and he was fighting a war and he woke up again and like the world's changed, but there's still there's still someone to fight. So I really want to kind of get into that idea. And just the fact that he's a soldier and that the first thing he would do is return to base. He wouldn't join the Avengers right away. He would check in with, his commanding officers and see, what what's going on, what's the world now, what's America in the world, and where am I needed? Because first and foremost, he was a soldier at that point. So those things really intrigued me, and I wanted to. It also helps to kind of sidestep a bit of what's happening in continuity in the moment,
Yeah.
because there is a big doom story happening, and so you couldn't really do that. Um, but to be able to tell something that feels fresh, even though it's set in the past, and that
Mm.
will impact future stories, felt like an opportunity I didn't want to skip over. And also, like just because I know people don't necessarily want stories about yesteryear, so the second arc is set firmly in modern times, and it ties into what we're doing here. So there's a plan. I'm
Yeah.
not winging it.
Yeah, not to give anything away, but there's
Yeah.
very much like a sort of A story and B story,
Mhm.
even in issue one.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. Like I said, I can't spoil anything, but it'll
Yeah.
be fun for you to read and discover what it's about. I felt like it was a perfect first issue for me, knowing a little bit about Captain
Hmm.
America and knowing a little bit more about America itself. It was easy for me to fit in. And the part that was
Good.
poignant for me was that he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to the Avengers. I'm gonna go check in. Like I'm already on a team.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to kind of like find those points in kind of Marvel Comics history in which you're like, oh, he would do this, not that. Like this makes sense. Like finding those weird little logic beats is very satisfying. And yeah, I'm super proud of issue one. The Valerio on art and Frank on color is just gorgeous. They sell every page, every moment, every design. It feels like a really solid first issue thanks to them.
No, it's beautiful. I'm going to. No, I'm not. That page is a spoiler.
I mean, this is a problem, right? Like I always want to post on my Substack like panels, but I'm like, oh no, that spoils it. Oh, that spoils it. Like
Right.
there's so much in it that spoils things, which I think is a sign of a good first issue when you don't want to give anything away. But um, the people I've showed it to, they're all like, oh, I want to read issue two, and that's really what you want for that first issue. You want that hook. That the last page of issue one is one that I thought about um, right from the beginning and the posing, the framing of it. Like I knew exactly what it had to look like to get people interested and to come back for issue two. Um, because I think the instinct for most people would just to be to show like a full body front facing kind of shot,
Hmm.
like this is who I am now.
Right.
Um, which, is cool in its own way, but like I really wanted that kind of like that ominous feeling of that character. And what they are now. Not to get too into spoilers, but yeah, yeah, very satisfying to write, very satisfying to see the art come in.
For sure. And so, you're writing Captain America. You've written Captain America in Avengers Twilight. You're going to be writing Captain America teaming up with Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm all in on Cap.
right. Um, how it for one, you've been at Marvel, you've been at DC.
Yeah,
The call to do a crossover book, like,
yeah.
does that immediately appeal to you, or is it still like, we'll
Oh
see if I
yeah.
can figure something out?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I still had to make sure I had something, even more so because it is such a high profile thing. Like you don't want to drop that ball. You don't
Yeah.
want to be the one guy in the crossover that's like, that story wasn't that good. Um, yeah, so it was interesting because they like the way it worked was, I'm doing the work on the Marvel side, because there's DC's doing their issue, Marvel's doing their issue, and so on the Marvel side, they basically were like, we've been given Wonder Woman
Mhm.
to do a story with because they all negotiate those things, right? So they're like, we want you to do the Wonder Woman story, and there's three characters on our end that we're thinking would work, and they listed them. And one of them was Cap, and they're like, it kind of makes sense for Cap because you're writing Cap. I'm like, oh yeah, 100%, and already I have kind of a story in mind. And then I kind of asked them the rules. I'm like, is this taking place in Marvel Universe in DC, or is it a separate thing? And they're just like, whatever you think it should be.
Mm.
As soon as they said that, I was like, oh man, I'm going all in on this. Like all in on this. Like I am just like, I'm diving into every moment between these characters in their universes. Like it's a dense script. I didn't have a lot of pages,
Mhm.
but I work with Terry Dodson, who makes every panel gorgeous. And um, yeah, I think people are gonna be really happy with it. Like even the feedback from DC was just like, oh man, like you raised the bar. Like this is good. I'm like, oh yes, I love it. I love it. Like, yeah, it's a big thing. Like, it's a once in a generation when they kind of do these kind of crossovers. And it's
Yeah.
been a long time because it's so complicated with the Disney Warner Brothers of it all. Um, so to get in kind of entrusted with even a snippet of a story is like, yeah, yeah, very satisfying.
Speaking of Terry Dodson, you just brought his name up, and that reminded me. I'm pretty sure the first comic I read from you was the Fantastic Four X-Men crossover
Oh, okay, nice.
during the Krakoa era, and
Yeah.
that was one of my favorites. Like,
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
and they had I think Mark Brooks did like these four connecting covers
Yeah, yeah,
for it.
yeah. That's
That was
gorgeous.
just that was fun. And
That
then
was
they
a that
undid
was a
him.
great book. I love working on that. Like it was challenging because it was a book that had two different offices working on it because it was
Mm,
a Fantastic Four book technically, but we had to run everything through the X-Men office, and I had to run everything through the Fantastic Four writer, which is Dan Slott at the time.
right.
So I was just getting notes left, right, and center on that thing. I was just dodging bullets all over the place just to get that story out the way I wanted it. But I'm really, really happy with it. And again, it's a beautiful book. Like Terry is just a master, like just gorgeous stuff.
So, okay, just to play insider, just because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here asking questions because I'm a fan. But the controversy surrounding Franklin Richards is
Yeah.
that, he's a mutant. We've got this cool story. I guess I can spoil it. It's like 5 years old at
Yeah,
this
so
point.
it's an old story. Yeah, you're
Right.
good.
But, basically Reed like found a cure for the mutant gene and Charles Xavier like goes and like basically takes it out of his head.
Hmm.
Right. Like, yeah, no, you didn't do that.
Yeah.
But there's this point of contention, like, okay, does Franklin belong to us, the Fantastic Four, or should he be with us, the mutants?
Hmm.
And I just thought that was such an interesting conversation, right? But
Hmm.
you're saying you had to clear with Dan Slott, who was writing Fantastic Four at the
Yeah,
time, and
yeah.
who later retconned all of it to be like, no, Franklin's not a mutant.
Yeah, I know.
Like, was that the plan the whole time?
No. I mean, like I was basing what I was writing on kind of what um Hickman was setting up because in House of X Powers of 10, like he had that kind of meeting with Reed and Sue in which like Cyclops was like, "How's Franklin?" Like basically we're coming for him. Like we know he's one of us. Like the doors are open to Krakoa. So that was the thing that was just kind of sitting there like a bomb waiting to go off and like when I was on Marvel 2-in-1 and I was gonna stop working on that, but they still want me to do FF stuff. So they're like, if you think of any Fantastic Four thing, let us know. And I was like, maybe Fantastic Four X-Men.
Mm,
Because like it was a miniseries I read as a kid too that I really loved. Um, and so I had kind of fond memories of that kind of pairing. And I just wanted to kind of dive into the Franklin Richards of it all. I'm just like, let's just do it. Let's figure out, where he belongs. Um, have some contention, have some doom in there. Have the X-Men do some shady shit, and we'll answer it and basically give everyone kind of best of both worlds. Like of course he's with the FF, but also he goes to Krakoa to be educated on mutant dumb. And so that was kind of like my pitch, and everyone was all on board. Jonathan and Dan and the editors. And so yeah, I wrote it like there were notes, but it wasn't like big things like Franklin's actually not a mutant. Like there was nothing like that.
yeah,
And so when it was done and out in the world, I was very happy with it. And then, much like everyone else, I'm reading the comics as they come out, and then I'm reading this whole storyline about how Franklin's not a mutant. I'm like, oof, I dodged a bullet because like if that had happened during when I was working on this, I would have had a lot of issues.
right.
I just felt bad for the X-Men office because I think they were a little bit blindsided by it from the sounds of
Mm,
it.
yeah.
But I mean, that's the nature of working in these kind of universes. Like, not everything lines up perfectly,
Mhm.
and you are borrowing characters from each other's books.
Right.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you do a thing here that messes them up over there, and vice versa. Like nothing is clean, nothing's easy. It's just not the nature of it. They work on too many books. So so yeah, I mean, I wanted to see the story where that was going to go. Um, so I think it's a bit of a shame Dan did that. But again, it was his character at the time. So if that's how he wanted to play it, that's how he should have been able to play it.
True. And I guess somebody
Yeah.
else could like re-retcon it
Oh,
later if they
100%,
wanted to.
100%. Like it's comics. Like Franklin could die and come back a mutant. Like who knows, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, you discover, oh, it's just like some other being hid the fact that he was a mutant. Like whatever. It's comics. There's always a way.
Right. And you talk about like this, that being an example of just kind of being the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And kind of wearing your children loosely as it were.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of a great segue to this last question I had for you, which was you've got, we've got ZCN, which is just another in a long line of examples of you like tackling really personal projects, right? Like your breakout book was a creator-owned book. You've kind of always got something
Oh yeah.
creator-owned like in the works,
Yeah.
but then you're also kind of jumping over into these big two projects. Like, how is it doing something that feels so intensely personal and then also like, I guess, feeding scripts into the big comics machine? Like, how does it feel?
They're all personal. Like that's the thing. Like you're still writing stories about people and they're emotional. Like uh I don't think anyone sets out and writes a story that isn't personal. Um and that's part of the trick about figuring it out if you have a story for Spider-Man or Batman or Captain America. It's like, well, what's my way in? Like what can I feel for this character? Um Yeah, I mean, the creator-owned stuff is harder in a sense because you have to kind of create the whole world. Like you're creating the rules of the world, you're creating all the characters, all the settings, the situations, like it's all there. And you have to work doubly hard to build emotional relevance for the reader because it's a new character. Like
Yeah.
they don't know who this person is. They don't know who like Sid Dallas is. Like you have to like you have to show them the character, write it in such a way that they feel for them, draw it in a way that they feel for them. So when something happens to them, it hits. And I've used this example many times across podcasts, but if I was writing Spider-Man tomorrow and I hit Aunt May with a bus, like I'd get a reaction because
Mhm.
everyone goes into it with that emotional history of reading that character. So a lot of that's already kind of laid out for you from the history of the books and the characters and what the writers before you did. Um, So that makes it almost like cheating sometimes when you're writing Marvel DC books. Like if I, have Tim Drake get shot, um, people react. People have a visceral feeling about that versus if I just have like some kid in tights get shot in a creator-owned book. Um, so yeah, there's difficulty because of the continuity, because you have to make sure everything lines up and doesn't mess up other people's books or what came before you. But also the benefit of the continuity of those books is you have the emotional resonance of those characters.
Yeah. That's that's true. One question I had for you, like, how
Mhm.
much of a runway do you keep for projects? I know at one point you were saying that like you were gonna write Batman until they kicked you off and,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
retire or something,
yeah,
right? I don't know how much of that was putting on, but I'm curious as to like
yeah.
how much you kind of plan ahead for things.
I mean, like a lot of stuff is just kind of said in the moment, like just like, oh, I'm gonna do this until whenever. And as you're working on a project, you're like, oh, actually, the story kind of ends here,
Mm,
and then you realize, like with Batman, DC did not want me to go, um, for a variety of reasons. I think they thought, I was doing okay on it. They liked working with me. I deliver stuff on time. I'm good to work with. Those things actually go pretty far because some people can be a nightmare in this industry. And I was a team player. I helped them with a bunch of stuff, and I did. I obviously love Batman. I loved writing it, and but then I hit the point where it's just like, oh, I think the story's done.
mm,
Like it had kind of a big story, and then when I saw the end coming, I was just like, oh, do I have something after this? Or should I have something after this? I don't know. Like, and so you just kind of go with your gut at that point. And so I, tendered my resignation. And they convinced me to stick around for one more arc,
mm.
which was good because, I did have another little story in me that worked well for Jorge, and the guest artist that came on board. But yeah, with that one, it was like, okay, you just know. And like almost with everything I work out, I know when it's time to leave.
Mm.
I'm very lucky because, like, I mean, 95% of comic creators, when they're working on a book, it's not up to them when they leave. The book's canceled, or
Yeah.
they get notified. You've only got 10 issues for this. Um, that's almost always how it goes. And I've been extremely fortunate. That's only happened to me once, where something was cut short. And every other time, I've been able to kind of like see the story through and realize that that was the story I wanted to tell, and it's time to go. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky. Daredevil, the fact that we did that for multiple years and I did like 60 issues of it, like part of it feels like a miracle, like that because I don't know how I was going to wrap that up if I didn't have all those issues.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen to me quite that same way again.
I think, it's got to be satisfying to be
Oh,
able to conclude stories. I mean, even
yeah,
now, yeah, my complaint about the X Office is like these books are like there's not enough runway even to get onboarded as a fan. Like the first trade's out as the series is getting canceled. It's like, okay, well, should I even invest in this? And it's like, well, I guess there's story there, but I don't know
yeah,
how people deal with that.
yeah. I mean, like the story's the story, whether it's short or long. Um, it all comes down to whether or not it's quality. Uh, it's nice knowing going into a book how much space you have because you can really plan out those beats and the emotional arc of a thing. Like I think it sucks to have an idea in mind, like I'm going to do this for like 30 issues and then you only get 10.
Right.
Um, that's super unfortunate. Like that's why I really like the miniseries. I like Avengers Twilight. I knew that was 6 issues,
Mhm.
30 pages each. Like you know it. You can really plan it out, get a good feel for it. My stuff that I do with distillery, those are like 3 page or 3 issue series, 45 pages each. And so you're telling a nice like 130 or 140 page story. Um, yeah, it's nice knowing going in. It sucks when you're told during
Right.
you gotta wrap it up, like yeah, that is unfortunate.
I still got to check out Time Waits. That just
Yeah,
looks really cool.
it's very very pretty, and I got to write that with like my manga explaining buddy David, who's like we have very similar tastes and things. It turns out after doing the manga podcast for so long, so getting to co-write that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. I got to get a raise so I can buy it.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know, that's how it goes.
It's an expensive hobby. I don't know how people do it. Like it's I get to write it off of my taxes because it's my career, and even still, when I get the bill at a comic shop, I'm like, oh, geez.
Right. Right. And then, people talk about tax write-offs. I'm like, I kind of would rather have the money. Like, if I'm
Yeah,
writing it off because I lost it, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
so I guess I had two questions before we wrap. Uh, the first is very simple, right? Like
yeah.
people who want Zdarsky comic news, how do they get it?
Talk to your shop. It's available for sure through Lunar, maybe through a couple other spots by the time this comes out. But so the catch with it is, and this is a stumbling block for a lot of retailers, is that they buy it in packs of 25, and it costs them like 250 or something like that for the pack of 25.
Mm,
So some retailers that maybe aren't doing as well as others see that as like, you know, $2 to $4 or whatever a month that is just gone
yeah,
for a thing they're supposed to give out. My answer to that is they can charge. Nowhere on it does it say it's free. If they want to charge 25 cents and make that money back, great. But I'm hoping they see that it is a value add for their store to get people interested in other books, and it gets them to come into the store to get this. So you could technically, if the store doesn't want to stock it, you can ask the store to order it in for you, and you pay them the 250, and then you keep one copy for yourself and sell the other 24 on eBay. I don't know.
hey, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
I can pay for all my distillery books.
there you go. There you go.
But so yeah, go to your local comic shop, ask them for Zdarsky Comic News.
Yep.
It is available through Lunar. I can confirm because that's how I got mine. And I did not have to buy 25 copies because my
Perfect.
shop likes me. But you
Oh,
know,
thank God.
maybe you're less fortunate, and that's kind of that sucks for you. But so the last question I had for you
Yeah.
actually comes from a friend of mine, Chris Balga
Okay.
of the Marvel Alliance podcast.
Okay.
And I had to screenshot the question. Here
Hmm.
it goes. Between Batman, Daredevil, and Captain America, who comes out as the winner in an all-out bar fight at the bar with no name?
The reader. Um, so questions like that, it's like, well, it depends on the book. If it
Mm,
takes place in the Batman title, Batman wins. If it takes place in Daredevil, Daredevil wins. Like the writer decides who wins.
right.
It's not like you're like, well, the stats of these character means this person wins. Um, yeah, I mean, technically, I think just on like a pure fan speculation level, Batman always wins. That's the rule of Batman.
Yeah,
Like he just does. Daredevil gets his ass kicked way too much.
true.
And Batman or Captain America just doesn't fight dirty enough.
That's true.
So,
But you could do it all day, though.
Batman probably does. He can do it all day, but Batman would technically probably win. But really, it depends on the title it's happening in. Like I remember, I think maybe it was the Justice League Adventures crossover, where it's finally Batman versus Captain America, and it's just like
Mm,
this big moment fans have been waiting for forever, and they're just like blocking each other's moves perfectly. Like, wow, he's totally my equal. Like, I think that was their answer, that they just like they realize that like they're both equally good,
Right.
which is, a little bit of a cop out, but I appreciate it.
Hey, you can't declare a winner.
Yeah, you can't.
So, well, with that, Chip, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
This was a pleasure. Like,
Yeah, same.
start doing stuff like this, and you got these lists of names, right? Yours was on there. I didn't think it ever happened, but you were
Hey,
there.
yeah,
So
yeah, we'll do it again too.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thanks again, you guys. Captain America #1 is out right now. You can go ahead and pre-order issue #2. FOC is probably this weekend as you're
probably.
listening to this, and if it's past, order it anyway.
Yeah,
And yeah, with all that, I've been BJ Kicks. This is Mr. Chip Zdarsky. And thanks for your time. Stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.
love it.
Comics are dope.